Good afternoon and welcome to Live at 12:05. I'm Chris Claud, volunteer at the museum with my spunky companion, Julie Hess,
Hello.
who is also a volunteer here. And as we mentioned in, I think, a couple of other productions, we are currently reviewing P.D. Gwaltney business records that were donated to us and letting you know about interesting things we find. So, one word that kept appearing over and over in these business records is the word guano. So I like to refer to this segment as guano y guano. Guano is, to quote from a radio talk from 1937 that I found in the Smithfield Times, the commercial fertilizer industry started in 1843 with the establishment of the first plant for treating rock phosphate with sulfuric acid. From there, prior to that time, fertilizer materials such as ground bones, fish, ashes, and guano were used to increase plant growth, so clearly was used in raising crops. There was something called the Peruvian guano, which played an important role in introducing a lot of farmers, including here locally, to the use of this fertilizer. And the material was made up largely of manure from seafowls. And in many sections of the South, the word guano, spelled G-U-A-N-O, is used in place of the word fertilizer. So I was curious about whether or not guano is still used today for the same purpose. And I did find in my Google search that apparently it is used, but mostly in organic farming, not so much for commercial farming since the invention of synthetic fertilizers. But the radio goes on to say the primary function is to supply, of course, plant food for crop production. So with that said, I want to show you a few things that we found. I'll start with this ledger, and you'll see here there are some references. In this case, it's referencing 2 bags of raw bone meal guano, and this was from January 29th, 1909. So again, assuming that this was received by Mr. Gwaltney, we questioned among ourselves what he may have used this for at the time. One of our guesses is maybe for peanuts, to either feed the hogs for the ham industry, or early on, actually, he had a peanut company in the early 20s. So this is one instance. Julie has another one in a different receipt book that we found.
So these are ledger books from 1916, and these are receipts for 5 full bags of guano, and then the second one is for a guano note that's due. So we can kind of have a timeline as to when the guano was being used with the Gwaltney production.
Which appears to be in line with what I found in this radio talk in the time period. The other example we ran across is this, and many of you here in Smithfield and the surrounding area actually may be familiar with the Old Dominion Steamship Company. So this is one of their receipts consigned to P.D. Gwaltney Jr., the destination of course is Smithfield, and this is for 25 standard guano bags. The different types of guano that they mentioned, like the raw bone and the standard, and there are others. Again, I don't know what the differences were or if they were used for different applications, but it's just interesting to note. The last item that I'd like to show you that was found among the files of Mr. Gwaltney, this little note from the House of Representatives. Unfortunately, we can't really make out exactly all of this, but we see something that we do recognize, and it says 5 bags of guano. So the question is, did P.D. Gwaltney send guano to Washington, D.C. to a member of Congress? We don't yet know. but that's a mystery we're going to attempt to solve. So, thank you for joining us today for Live at 12:05. And in closing, I'd just like to say this is no guano.
Goodbye, thanks, and have a nitrogen-rich afternoon.